Chapter 2, Callie and Susie. That same day, Susie sat on the bench of her mirrored dressing table. She was brushing her hair and humming a song a little too loudly. Ouch! She shouted while the brush fell to the floor. She wanted Callie to notice her or speak to her, say something to her. But Callie's attention was someplace else. She never even looked in Susie's direction. She lay on the floor, facing the opposite wall. When Susie realized Callie was paying her no mind, she put the brush down a little too hard on the table. Then she got the high back chair from the other side of her room and placed it against the wall that was farthest from the window. Now, Callie Wilcom, you listen to me. You get up from this floor. You must sit up and keep to this chair, Susie said, pointing quickly and with authority. Callie was slow to move, but Susie could not sit still. Every other minute or two, she would get up from her dressing table and sashay around the room, moving past the window for a peek of what was going on in the yard as she continued humming her song and brushing her hair. Callie was flooded with memories and sad thoughts. Today, Susie announced hesitantly, turning towards Callie, you may not brush my hair this morning. I will do that for myself. Callie did not care the least bit about the knots in Susie's hair. She did not want to notice the girl, but Susie demanded her attention. She wondered if this might be Susie's way of caring for her. Susie was so hard to understand. Susie knew Callie balked at brushing out the tangles of her hair more than she did. Still, it was too much effort to consider the twisting and turnings of Susie's mind. Callie sat sideways on the chair, her head turned away from Susie and the window, and leaned against the back of the chair. She was limp but with wet clothes hanging on the clothesline. From the bedroom window, you could see the whole of the farmyard. Susie was delighted to watch what was happening. She'd never seen the likes of a slave sale before. Normally, Mr. Henry kept these matters private, preferring to go into town to the slave market alone or with one of the overseers. But the news of the war turned everything upside down. Out of convenience to Mr. Tweet and an eagerness to get the sale over with, Mr. Henry conducted his business right in the farmyard. Susie could not contain her excitement. She wanted to chatter about what was going on in the farmyard. Callie was the only one nearby. Callie made it clear she did not want to know one little thing of the misery Mr. Henry Warren was making this day. Albert and John are already strapped into the wagon for the long trip south, she exclaimed with excitement in her voice. Now Mr. Tweet is looking over Joseph. It was of little consequence to Callie that Susie announced every interaction. Callie already knew what was happening because Mama Ruth's cries grew even louder. Finally, Susie slapped Callie's arm with the back of her hairbrush so that she would look up when she spoke to her. Callie, now you pay attention to me, Susie demanded. Callie looked at Susie as if for a moment she did not remember who she was. It hurts me to hear my Mama Ruth cry, she told her. I should be with her. I think she needs me now. Just you never mind about that, Callie. I need you more. Daddy and I insist you are here in my room with me. This is for your own good, our own good. You know Daddy knows what's best for all of us. He has his family and all these other mouths to feed. So don't you go and bring temper to me, Callie. I just won't have it. She turned away from Callie, but kept right on talking. There's great need for farm labor in the deep south, Susie explained, sounding so much like Mr. Henry. The war has started, Callie. You know this. Susie added, raising her voice almost to a scream as she went to her dressing table and took something from the drawer. Just look at this and see for yourself. She held up a newspaper advertisement so that Callie could see it. She read the advertisement, pointing out every word. Wanted, slave labor, in the South. Cotton is king. There is cash money to be made. Each slave is sold for $2,000. Callie only nodded. She refused to look at Susie or the paper she was holding. It was not temper that kept her from looking. Callie was feeling lost and disoriented as she did that night when the two girls went exploring in old man Cowper's cave. That was the night Callie saw a side of Susie she had not seen before, the night Susie ran away and left Callie behind alone in Cowper's cave. The fear overtook her, growing through her body like weeds. She didn't think she would ever stop shaking. Her fright was so strong and the cave was so dark, she felt that she had all but disappeared and ended up in the awful place for all the lost souls. After Papa and Joseph rescued her and brought her home, they all three sat together on the step of their cabin. Callie would not let go of Papa's hand. I thought I was going to be lost forever, Callie whispered to Papa. Oh, Callie girl, you can never be lost from me, Papa exclaimed. But I was. I didn't think I would see you or Joseph or Mama Ruth or little Charlie again, she cried. Psh, Papa laughed dismissively and hugged her. Then Papa looked up towards the heavens, moving his head from side to side, this way and that, as if he were searching for something important he left behind up there. Papa's actions made Callie laugh in spite of herself, which made Joseph laugh too. Look up, Callie. You too, Joseph, Papa said, pointing upward. Can you find the Big Dipper? He asked. There it is, Joseph pointed triumphantly. Now listen to me, both of you. And I don't want you to ever forget what I'm saying to you tonight. Joseph and Callie shook their heads, and Papa spoke again. Wherever you are, wherever you go, or whatever happens to you in this life, know that you can never be lost from me. If ever you find yourself thinking this way, stop it. You find those stars in the sky. Know that if you see those stars, the same stars that your mom and Papa see, know you can never be lost from us. Those are your stars, Callista, he said. Your name comes from those stars. Callie blinked a few times and sniffled. And wherever we go, we never go alone. Family comes with us all the time, in our hearts, in our minds. Callie repeated the thing Papa had told her before. Yes, that's right, Papa said, laughing. Once you belong to a family, you are never alone. You always belong to them. Those stars sure shine pretty tonight, Joseph said, smiling and taking a big breath of the night air. Because you are mine, you will always be safe, Papa said, and put his arm around both of his children, wrapping them up in a safe cocoon. Callie let herself feel how good it was to hear Papa's breathing and the beating of his heart. I am safe, Callie told Papa. Because you are mine, I am safe. Suse and Callie loved to explore the world around them. It was at these times when the two could be free to be themselves, and the roles they had to play in life would drop away. They could act as friends. They could be brave together. They would run and yell and giggle. They would dream and imagine and make wishes on stars or skip rocks on the fishing pond. They had explored as far as they dared to go in the forest around Bell Hill Farm. They had explored all of the attic rooms of the house. It was times like these that every so often Callie forgot the rules between slave and master, and she thought Suse did too. Callie tried hard to remember these times when Suse was having one of her mean spells. I think I know that Suse likes me, Callie told Mama Ruth one day when the two were pulling weeds in the garden. I don't know what would make you think that, Mama Ruth said as she looked at Callie. She has said as much in her way, Callie told Mama Ruth as she remembered the day when Suse explained to her the way things were between them and why they had to be that way. I could be closer to you, Callie, a lot closer to you, Suse had begun, but there is a line Daddy says I must never ever cross. A line? Callie had asked her. What does that mean? A line between you and me. A line between us and all of you, she had gestured, trying to make Callie understand. That afternoon, the two girls were outside in the tobacco fields. This was before the soil had grown barren, but Suse kicked the tobacco plant with her boots, as if she did not care one whit for the hands that would pick it come harvest time. Yes, a line, he said. I asked him how come, and do you know what he said? She had asked, very proud that she had an answer Callie did not. What did he say? It is simple. This is our way of life, he told me. Suse hesitated. But sometimes, Callie, I want to be friends. I feel like I want to. Truly, I do. I want to cross the line right now and be close to you like I am with Jenny or Rose Mallory. But I cannot. A good daughter does what her daddy asks of her, she had explained. What about your mother, Mistress Catherine? What does he say about Papa and her family and her being family relations? What does he say about that? Callie had asked. Daddy says that is no concern and means nothing. Her father, Grandfather Edward, was an Englishman. That means he was misguided against our ways and taught Mother to be the same. Callie never forgot that day in the field. She never talked about it to Suse again. The talk of a line that would never allow Callie to be close to Suse felt bad, and it caused something inside deep to hurt. It is a strange thing. It rips us all apart, slave and master. Now that same something inside of Callie was hurting, and it felt worse than being lost in the dark cave or walking through the tobacco fields ever could. Come and stand next to me in the mirror, Suse said. It was clear Callie especially did not want to play this game. Suse went over to the chair where Callie was sitting and dragged her to her feet. I am sure to be taller than you now, Callie. I'm wearing my boots with heels, but Suse was not any taller. Callie was still a half head taller than her, even though she wore her flat-heeled work boots. The two girls stood in the mirror looking at each other's reflection. They couldn't be more different. They were an odd pair, looking mismatched and out of place. Suse was wearing her red plaid taffeta dress, which was shiny and smooth, and made a swishy, swishy noise as she walked. In contrast, Callie wore the colorless, rough-cut cloth of linen and wool. It was heavy, coarse, and scratchy material, a shapeless dress that hung off her shoulders like a sack. Mama Ruth called it an Osnaburg cloth or a linsey-woolsey cloth. Some called it slave cloth. Mr. Henry insisted she wear it. It marked her as a slave. With an underslip, it could be warm to wear in the winter. Either way, the dress was too hot to wear in the summer months. Callie hated the clothes she had to wear. Standing next to Susie in her fine clothes made Callie hate the dress even more. Not because of the finery of Susie's clothes. It was not something that she would choose for herself to wear either. But she had no choice. If she could choose anything to wear, Callie would not choose silk or velvet or brocade or taffeta as Susie did. Callie would choose calico. It was a simple cotton cloth. Callie loved those times when Mama Ruth would tell her of when she and Hampton were first married, and Mama Ruth and Joseph moved into their cabin. You were still as much as a baby, Mama Ruth once began. I had a little boy, but I never had a little girl, she smiled. You were the sweetest and happiest looking thing. I swaddled you in the softest thing I could find. It was calico. I patched together some few pieces from my scraps basket, and keep it I keep it until I had a little blanket for you. You loved that blanket. When you grew out of the need of a blanket, you wouldn't let it go, so I made a dress out of it. You were too little to do any farm work, and I would not put you in slave cloth, she said, laughing, and Callie laughed too. You seem to like the look and feel of it so much more, Mama Ruth added. You'd point to the little dainty flower pattern on the dress. Pretty flower, you'd say. So I called you Callie, my calico girl. I saved the little dress for as long as I could. If I could, I'd dress you in calico right now. Calico cloth was not for a party dress or a Sunday go-to kind of thing like a velvet or silk or taffeta. It was just a sweet, plain, smooth cloth, not fancy at all. It could have an all-over flower pattern or stripes or little designs in the cloth. Callie once tried explaining to Susie what she would rather wear if she had a choice in the matter. It is just a plain cloth, but it is the cloth I like best. But Susie was not interested in hearing what she had to say. Just then, Callie heard a noise. It was Susie. She had gone into her clothes closet where she had all kinds of dresses. Callie heard her rustling around like she was digging for treasure and mumbling to herself. Now, where is it? Susie loves to talk, even if it was to no one at all. Where is that old thing? She kept asking herself. It should have been right. Here it is, Callie. Finally, I found what I was looking for, Susie announced. This is for you, Susie said, thrusting her green taffeta and velvet party dress into Callie's hand. Don't ever say I never did anything nice for you. I'm giving you my party dress, even though I have outgrown it. Now at least you have something pretty and shiny to look at during these hard times. Maybe your Mama Ruth can fix it for you. Mama says your Mama Ruth is the best seamstress for hundreds of miles around. Callie held the dress in her hands like a rag and still said nothing, but that did not stop Susie from chattering. So she went back to her chair and sat down while Susie rattled on. Daddy says, with this great war coming, we all must do our part to help the effort to defend our way of life here, Callie. Once Daddy settles his business affairs here at home, he is leaving us. Do you understand? He is leaving us to go fight in the war. That's a sacrifice too, Callie. That's a big sacrifice, Susie said, beginning to choke up and cry. Everybody has to do something, Callie. You and me and Joseph and your stepmother, Mama Ruth. Now Callie felt it was Susie who had crossed a line. Callie thought about Mama Ruth right then. She thought about what Mama Ruth had said about forgiving others. Callie wondered if Mr. Henry's selling Joseph to pay his debts was something she could forgive. Callie would not mind one little bit if this was something she could not do. Callie knew she could not forgive him, and she had decided that she would not ever. I'm tired, Callie, Susie said, finally having worn her own self out. She went to her bed and lay there. Callie rose from the chair and walked to the window. She could hear the wagon as it went off down the road. She wanted to run to try to catch up to see Joseph one last time, but she knew Joseph was gone. Mr. Henry was standing in the middle of the yard now, counting his money. For a moment, he looked up at the window to see her standing there. A wide grin slid across his face. I'm going to see my Mama Ruth now, Callie told Susie. She walked out of her room before she could say anything to her about what she could or could not do. Callie walked right past Mr. Henry and went to Mama Ruth in her cabin.